Whoa, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome to episode number 159 of Mirrorless Minutes. Jerry is looking younger and fitter today than he ever has.
A little better looking too.
So, in case you can't tell, we've got on Mark Miller tonight. We've got some things to talk about with Mark, and Jerry's running into construction problems. I think he's dealing with traffic in Grand Haven, Michigan, where one of the only routes into that little tiny congested town is a drawbridge that is being worked on. So we might not see Jerry for the next 6 months. It's hard to say. But hey, it's good to have you back on, Mark. Pretty excited to talk about what you're going to share tonight. It's I think it's going to open up some possibilities for some people. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's really, I think, why we're doing this. What you and I do together. So I'll just talk a little bit about what I've been doing lately, and then we'll kind of go into the announcement that you've got to make too, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. And then, so this was kind of a last minute thing, and I didn't ask Mark to bring photos, but did you bring photos by chance?
I did. I had a feeling I might need some. So
Perfect. So let's get some hellos here. Hey, Mike, how's it going down in Illinois? Hopefully you got some good wild weather recently. I mean, a lot of storms have been rolling through the Midwest here. And we got John on the show tonight, and got my sweetheart Shelly in the chat room. So I guess I think the thing I'm going to talk about tonight, and I haven't really done a whole lot of this, I've kind of hit on things but never actually shown what I'm doing. But I think tonight I want to talk a little bit about focus stacking. And if you're an Olympus user with certain cameras, you know, you've got the benefit of it, you know, being done in the camera. And, you know, I've been shooting with the Sony a lot lately. And I know, Mark, you've been shooting with Sony a lot. And,
Yep.
And I know you're doing focus stacking in your shots as well.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Do you like what you're getting better when you're starting to focus stack images?
Yeah, I definitely do, especially in the landscape. You know, you get so much more depth of field. And then when I first switched to Sony, having the full frame, not realizing how shallow, 5.6 is on a full frame compared to, a crop sensor. The first few shots I took, everything in the background was, soft, and I was like, what in the world's going on? Something's off. And then, it kind of clicked. So now I'm doing a lot more of it, and I'm shooting around f11 a lot more. And it's a lot better. You get so much more depth in it, and it's a little bit more fun, and Photoshop's made it a lot easier to, process those images too. So
100% agree. And it's good that you mentioned that. So moving from, the crop sensors, and I shot a lot of things, wide open all the time on the Olympus. I'd be shooting at f2.8 all the time, like, or f4 on the 12 to 100. And there was a pretty good amount of depth of field in those shots. And then, like you said, you switch to a full frame sensor, and 2.8 or f5.6 it's kind of portraity looking, I mean, you don't have a background anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
And for those of us shooting landscapes, there are cases, where you might want to focus on something in the foreground alone. It doesn't quite become a landscape image at that point. But, like you said, we find ourselves, I think, on full frame shooting at f11 or higher, even sometimes, if we're not stacking.
I'm even at f11 sometimes, depending on what you're shooting and how close your foreground your subject is, it falls off a lot faster. So I find myself doing a lot more than I used to, and I do like it. It's, you get so much more detail, front to back in your image.
For sure. And a good point, so that, saying that we'll shoot at f11 kind of as a regular, I mean, for landscape work, you get great depth. But like you said, though, if you've got, like, I know both of us like to shoot this way, as well as a lot of other landscape photographers, with kind of a focal point, or I like to call it like an anchor in the foreground. Yeah. And once you throw that into focus, I mean, you've got like 10 feet behind it, and then everything just falls apart after that, even at f11 or f16.
Yeah.
So the focus stacking is really good way to let a viewer look at your image from foreground, where you've got that really strong focal point, all the way through and see all the details that kind of go throughout the rest of the scene. And I'm going to try and do a screen share. I have no idea how well this will look. Hopefully it comes across okay. It's always kind of hit or miss when you're streaming, but I think I'm going to give it a shot and see how this works. And again, like I said, it's going to be a little iffy. So I'm just going to jump into Lightroom right here, and hopefully everybody can see my catalog here. So basically this was it was a location I went there yesterday with my girlfriend, and I was just kind of wandering around, and I found this spot that I really enjoyed. It had this I think it's where there used to be a tree stump, like, and then the water had kind of, and that was the opposite of receded. It kind of like, expanded the shoreline, I guess, and enveloped where this tree used to be. And we've got this stump here. Now, granted, you're going to see this overexposed because in addition to shooting, what would be a single frame at varying focal lengths, I'm also bracketing too. I'm a sucker for bracketing my images just so I can get as much fidelity out of the image, as much shadow detail as I possibly can. So I'm starting off with, this is obviously the overexposed frame out of a series of 3, but I brought this one up so that I could zoom in and show. And again, I apologize if this doesn't come through nice and clear, but this is my foreground element here. It's this old tree stump, and it is that's what's my focal point in this frame. And then the next couple of frames obviously are the other 2 frames in that bracketed sequence. So then we'll get to, the next one here. And if you look on the foreground is soft, but we get out here and it's really impossible to tell out here, but I'm focusing out towards the middle of the lake. And that is kind of what becomes in focus. Honestly, I focused right here on this reflection of the tree line right in this area. There was enough contrast for the camera to lock focus there. So that's where I ended up focusing for this frame in the sequence of 3 shots. And then in the final one, I'm focused way out here on the buildings in the background. And again, I apologize. It's probably kind of tough to see what's sharp or what's not, I guess, if I zoom in. But so now I've got 3 shots. And these are, if you can look at the exit data, I wasn't stopped down super deep on these, so it was at F5. But I felt like from what I was seeing in my previews from each of the 3 images, that was enough for me to be able to blend. So the steps for blending these go as follows. I'm going to go back to my grid here. And if you look, you can see that I've got DNG files for each of these images. So this is what would be like the merged HDR image from these previous 3 frames. Okay. So here's one DNG file. And then actually, let me back up. There's the first DNG file over here. And then I've got the second DNG file. And then I've got my third DNG file here. And these 2 Photoshop files are like what I ended up editing later. But the way the merge process works, it's really simple. It's funny. Jerry called me the other day. He hasn't really done any focus bracketing or stacking in the past. And he messaged me and said, hey, what's the steps you go through? And I thought, well, I should probably show everybody what the steps are. So it's pretty simple. I just take my 3 DNG files from Lightroom. I've got them all highlighted. And then it's as simple as photo, edit in, and then you want to open as layers in Photoshop. So I'm going to get that process going, and I will stop the screen share and wait for them to be over in Photoshop, where's Photoshop at? Actually, it's already in Photoshop. That was kind of quick. So let me share the Photoshop screen really quickly here with you guys. All right. So here we've got them in Photoshop right now. If you look to the right here in my layers panel, you can see all 3 of the images are loaded up. So the first steps are, even though I was on a tripod, I wasn't shooting with a release. and I was on squishy ground. So there's always the chance that when you're shooting, there could be slight shifts in, from one composition to the next or one frame to the next. So you want to have all of your layers highlighted, and it's as simple as going to edit and then auto align layers. I just leave it the projection on auto. I don't usually ever use the vignette removal or the geometric distortion control. Auto just seems to work right out of the gate every time. I haven't had a problem with it ever. So
same here.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I tried it once with the geometric distortion control on, and it gave me the weirdest results ever. So I left it alone after that. But so I leave it on auto and just hit OK, and it'll probably take a second. I'm streaming and I've got all this stuff open, but okay. So there they are. They're merged, or they're aligned rather. So Photoshop is just taking, some strong, contrasty edges and aligning everything using that. And what happens, you can see on the right hand side of the image here, there's this gap, and that gap was created probably because I was standing on spongy ground and shifting the tripod in between all 9 images. So now Photoshop has them all aligned, and then once they're aligned, the next step is to edit, auto blend. And again, I leave it alone, except I do make sure that the seamless tones and colors is checked. And I'm 99% satisfied with the content fill aware transparent areas. And what that is going to do is it's going to use content aware fill to fill in the blanks on these areas right here. Okay. Just hit OK and just let it run. And it'll take a second. This is a little bit more of a lengthier process because of the content aware fill and the seamless tones. It's sampling all of the images and all the layers to kind of ensure that the color doesn't get kind of funky as you merge things. Okay, so now they're still working. There we go. All right, so now they're all merged. You can see the little marching ants selection over here on the right. That's where it filled in. So I'll just hit Command D to deselect that. And you can see it filled in really nicely here on the sides. I mean, I rarely find an issue with how it looks. I think that it probably, where the stone is right here, I'm sure it's cloning this and just basically duplicating it. But for most people, that's probably not going to be a deal breaker. So once that's done, I select all my layers and then I merge them all into one layer. And then I just close the file out and let it, and I hit save. And it just kind of round robins right back into Lightroom. And then from there, I'll do whatever kind of editing I want to do in post. So I'll stop sharing here, and I'm not going to jump back into Lightroom or whatever. But again, it's going to shoot that file back into Lightroom for you as a DNG file. So it's like a digital negative, Adobe's version of RAW. And what's kind of cool is that because I'm doing bracketed shots, oh, you're not seeing any of the drop down stuff, just the screens. I am so sorry about that. Well, you'll have to try to find a way to play this back on YouTube in slow motion and listen to me slowly talking through which menus it is. But it is pretty simple. It's just in Lightroom, you have your 3 images at the 3 different focal lengths selected, and you just go photo and then edit in. And then from your choices, one of those will be open as layers in Photoshop. That's your first step. And it'll feed those over into Photoshop. Once all those layers are in there, select them all, and then go to Edit, Auto Align, leave the default settings selected, hit OK. It'll take a second. It's going to align your layers. You'll probably see some little weird gaps and stuff. Those get fixed in the next step, which is keeping those layers selected, which they should still be selected from your last step. Go to Edit, Auto Blend, and I make sure that I leave the default settings at the top set the way they were, but I make sure that the boxes are checked at the bottom for seamless tones and content aware fill. And then you just hit OK, and that takes a little bit longer, but then they're merged. And then once they're merged, you're golden from there. I just merge all those layers together and spit it back out into Lightroom. And what I was going to say about that, though, is that what's cool for the way I'm doing it, I'm doing HDR images, so I'm bracketing. And if you've ever done an HDR image, in Lightroom, once they're merged, your sliders are going to be cranked all over the place. Okay. So it's done everything it can after merging to give you what the Adobe engineers figure is like, the best look. So you're probably going to see, your highlights are probably cranked way to the left. Your exposure might be bumped to the left just a little bit. Your shadows are probably pushed up. Your vibrance and saturation are moved. There's a lot of things that have been changed. What's cool is when you take these images into Photoshop to do this blending, and then you get a DNG file back with all those sliders reset. So it's almost like you get to double work that, that HDR file that you had. And it's easy for it to get crazy. Would you agree, Mark? It's easy to kind of go overboard.
Absolutely. I spent a lot of time getting, way overboard. I get down with it, looking at it, and it's just like reset, start over.
Yep.
What the hell happened?
I know. I've done that way too many times. Oh my gosh. And it's funny. I was just talking with Shelly about it today or yesterday, that looking at some of her images, and then I look back at mine, I think, holy cow, like mine looks like a water color. Like it's just, there's a lot going on. And I'm thinking, man, I want them more natural. And I know a lot of it is just, it's easy to get out of control with it. But again, it's a cool tool, and it's easy for you to get a lot of depth in your images. And basically pretty much everything I've been shooting in the last month and a half or so is a focus stacked image. And I don't see myself not doing that a lot anymore. I love the look, there's so much detail all the way through your image that way.
Yeah, so I'm kind of the same way. I stack a lot, and ever since I started doing it, it's just kind of now in my workflow. So it's just normal. I don't do the bracketed exposures.
Yep.
I tend to work more with my filters rather than doing the brackets and the with the exposure, but I'm just focus stacking. And then, so I've got one less step, I guess.
Yeah. You've got it a lot easier that way. I mean, I guess, well, you're probably putting a little more work onto the front end, but the bonus to doing it that way though is you're kind of seeing what a merged HDR shot looks like because of the filters.
You're right.
I mean, you're eliminating it in post and getting it right in camera. Really.
Yeah, essentially. And I mean, you close it, and then you can, process from there the way that you want to. And for whatever reason, I just never got into bracketing exposure. I'll do it every once in a while, but it's just not in my flow. So
I don't blame you. And being an ambassador for a filter company,
I should be using them.
Yes. I know that they like, when you're creating work with their stuff. So I totally get it for saving the steps for sure.
Yeah.
I'm jump in here and answer a few questions here, see what people are saying. Yeah. Again, I apologize that it didn't show up. It's weird when you're doing screen shares, like some things come across and others don't. I'm working on 2 screens. It'd be nice if I could show you both of my screens, because when I edit in Lightroom, I've got like a live preview going on the other screen and stuff like that. So again, I apologize, but thank God for YouTube. You can watch it as much as you want. Let's see what else we got here. Mike. Yeah. Glad to share it. It's easy. And I really wish I would have started doing it sooner because it is so easy. Hey, welcome on, Jason. How's it going? Haven't talked to you in a while. I did see the great horned owl nest you clued me into. Shelly and I found it the other weekend, so I'm probably going to swing over and shoot them soon. Let's see what else we have here. I was always doing what in Photoshop, Mom? Sharing? Probably. What else we got here? So Mike says the Sony's have so much dynamic range, you don't find the need to shoot multiple exposures for the most part. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you for sure can go way further with a file from the Sony cameras for sure. I'm stuck in my ways, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of dynamic range in those files. And I was blown away the first weekend I had it, and took a couple shots where everything's, in silhouette in the foreground, and start sliding it over, and it's like, holy crap, it's all there.
So, shooting with Olympus for like 10 plus years and, representing them and not using other equipment, you kind of get it's confirmation bias. I feel like, you know, having shot the brand and have so much of it and representing them, I just always felt like, if somebody said, well, full frame's got way more dynamic range and da da da, I was like, oh no, but Olympus can do that too. And I kind of didn't want to believe it or didn't understand it until really Jerry showed me this photo. It's like my go-to story about dynamic range on Sony
The
sensors.
church.
Yes, the church. Oh my God. It looked like it was insane. It was black.
Yeah.
It was so dark. You couldn't see anything. And from a single exposure, it was a gorgeous photo. And he had me completely sold. I knew if there ever came a time when I wasn't, contractually obligated to shoot with Olympus, Sony was going to be where I went just because of that one photo. So that's really cool. Before we do an image share, first I just want to say, if you guys like the walkthroughs of things like that, just let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know in chat, on the Facebook page, wherever. I'd like to start sharing more of these kinds of things. I love to teach. So, and even if it is something, half of if the other half don't know it, I'd love to teach you. So again, just give me an idea if you want to see more things like that, and I'll try to work out the technical side of it. But again, before the image share, what news do you have, Mark? What do you want to share? What do we want to share?
All right. So we've got our workshop out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming planned for first week of August, and we're going to run a spring sale right now and knock $150 off the registration fee. So if you go to event page and you go into register, you put in spring 21 and it'll knock $150 off. And it's a nice little chunk of money. And, we want a lot of people to go, and we know times are kind of hard right now and the whole COVID thing. So, we're trying to make it more accessible for everybody that does have an interest in going.
Yep. 100% agree. And so we've had a few people, I'll address a couple of questions that we've had that have come up in the last couple of weeks regarding the workshop. One was the itinerary. Kind of as the way I've been doing it since day one with Mike, and Mike kind of adopted this from his working with Derek's story. We generally don't give out the itinerary super far in advance. There's a couple of reasons, not the least of which is we kind of want people to come with us. So we don't want to give you the keys to the kingdom, without us walking you through the door. So I know, again, we had a couple people ask what the specifics of the itinerary, and that's why we don't share it. You'll see the itinerary either a couple of about 3 weeks before the workshop, if you're going, and if you're not going, you'll see everyone's pictures after the workshop, so you'll get an idea of what the itinerary was then. And I apologize, it's just kind of how we're running the business. So that was one thing that I wanted to address. The other one was we had several people say, are you for sure going to do this? Well, we've got a lot of money invested in it already. So I look at it this way. We're either, we're either teaching a workshop with people, or we're going to have a hell of a vacation. So Mark and I are going to be there for sure. It's happening. We'd love to have you there. We want you guys to experience just how amazing it is out there. The minute I drove out of Wyoming last year, I knew that was the next place to go to take people. So we hope to see you there. I know that COVID has really made people really gun shy about, planning anything. But, if it's still something where, it's a concern, I have no problem wearing a mask around everybody, keeping our distance, which is probably not a bad idea anyways, just so that everybody gets a little bit more unique, angle for shots. But nothing is stopping us from going.
Yeah.
So,
no, absolutely. we'll make it work. Anybody's concerns will be, considered, and we will work with, everyone, whichever way we have to make it a good experience for everybody. And it's definitely going to be something that you don't want to miss on. It's going to be an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're on the fence about it, for any of the reasons that we mentioned, hopefully our response and answers is something that kind of puts you at ease. And if you have questions that we haven't answered, on the show or just now at any time, just reach out to either Mark or myself. You know how to find us. We're pretty easy to get a hold of on social media, and we'll be glad to answer whatever questions you've got. So,
yeah, and we do have the group rate for the hotel.
Good mention. Can't think of that. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
So, and it's in the event page, and I'm drawing the name of the hotel right now. But it's say you booked it, but
I know, right?
Mirrorless Adventures is the group name if you call to book your reservations.
Excuse me. So, you want to do an image share, Mark?
Sure. See if I can make it work.
All righty, let's do this. So for those asking, it's the Virginian Lodge in Jackson Hole.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, shoot. Hang on here.
That's okay. No rush.
It's half time. It has permissions blocked, and it's going to make me reset, I think, everything.
That's okay. If you want, I can queue up stuff in the meantime.
Yeah, it's going to make me quit Google, drop out of the show to refresh this thing.
Oh, my mom.
So share and come back in a minute, or just skip it, whatever you want.
I'll tell you what, I'll do a share. You can dip out and come back in. I'd like for people to see what you've been shooting lately.
All right. I'll be back in a moment.
Okay. And then there was one. So I'll just do a quick share. I don't have a ton of images, just what I've been shooting over like the last week and a half or so. So I started up my vlog again. So if you aren't following me on YouTube, just give me a look-see on there. I did a vlog probably about 5.5, 6 years ago, something like that. And I did it for, I think, 120 days straight, like I think every single day. And then I just kind of stopped and I decided to get back into it again. So I was vlogging the night that I shot this. So there's a vlog talking about this location and how I ended up there. But again, this is just another example of shooting, with the focus bracket or focus bracketed or stacked, however you want to say it, shot. So this is shot with the Sony A7 III, and this is with the Tamron 17-28, and I'm using a Nisi reverse graduated neutral density filter on this shot. And if I can pull up the inspector, I guess I could just hit Command I on my keyboard to see that. So this is at f7.1 on this, and at 14 millimeters, or I'm sorry, 17 millimeters. And this is a series of 3 images, again at 7.1. The main focal point for the first shot is on this big pipe here on the top, and then towards the end of the pipes, and then off in the trees in the distance is kind of how I did that shot. Again, everything I do probably all summer is going to be that way, unless it's, dramatic weather or something of that nature. And this was from just the other night, just another random drive. We're finally getting clouds here in Michigan that aren't just like a blanket of gray. So I'm racing out every night at sunset to get shots, and found myself on a random road, as I usually am, looking for something to put in the scene, a pastoral scene. I wanted a farm. I wanted cows or a horse or a split rail fence, something. And I kind of ended up on this dirt road where this farm was at. And it's funny because I was kind of in contact with Mark that whole time as he was racing around trying to find a spot. I had just set up here, and Mark had messaged me and said, I just got chased away from a property by someone with a gun. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's kind of terrifying. And as within a minute of him saying that, I could see people out on this farm talking, and then a truck comes down the road and comes right towards me. So I send Mark a video saying, I think it's my turn next. Turns out it was the person who works on that farm came up and just, checked in to see what I was doing. And I gave him one of my cards. And later on that night, after posting this image in the community Facebook page here in Eaton Rapids, come to find out his mother passed away a couple hours before that. And they had a really, as you can imagine, a horrible day on their farm. And his wife messaged me on Facebook after seeing the image posted and said that it was a wonderful gift to see that after the day that they had. And she explained everything to me. And so I told her I'd be getting her a print, for their family if they're interested in it. And another family member of theirs reached out later on that night and asked about a print as well. So I just sent her the edited file so that she could to run her own prints off if she wanted it. Trying to add Mark to the stream here. So same thing. This is with the 17 to 28 as well. And again, this is with an EC reverse graduated neutral density filter. And I'm using the H&Y filter holder. It's the magnetic filter holder, which makes just throwing filters on and off a breeze. And this is shot the same way. It is 3 images at 3 different focal lengths. The first one being the post in the lower right-hand side of the frame. And then the next shot somewhere around the telephone pole. And then the last one on the barns out there. But like the, let me get me back full screen here. There we go. But like the shot that I showed you of the tree stump in the water that I kind of walked through the process on, this is a bracketed shot as well. So like Mark, I'm using a filter, but then I'm just going haywire and bracketing shots in addition to that. I'm always trying to be extra, as the kids would say, I guess. I don't know. They probably don't say extra anymore. So this was yesterday with Shelly, and I saw Rick Kefgen dropped into the show earlier, and Rick might recognize this spot. He goes here regularly, and I finally made it over to his spot. Sorry for poaching your area. 10 bonus points if Rick can call it out in the chat room. This is a single shot, and I just felt like this really required to be, it was just begging me to be in black and white. So that was just the process that I went through with this. And I used Nick's Silver Effects Pro to do the black and white treatment. Used a red filter, and that's in Analog Effects Pro. And the red filter basically makes the blue in your skies turn black. So it's almost sort of like having an infrared camera in a way, just a lot cheaper than getting one converted. And this is, again, Sony a7 III Tamron 17 to 28. And I'll mention something about the 17 to 28 as well. I haven't been shooting with it until this past week at all because I hated the images that came out of it. They were always soft, always soft. And so I just would switch over to the Samyang 14 millimeter f2.8. And tell you what, really quick, Rick gets the 10 points. So doing a little research, I found out that there was a firmware update for the Tamron 17 to 28. So if you're a Tamron shooter with the 17 to 28 on any of the full frame systems and you're not satisfied with the image quality, I would sincerely consider going to their page and downloading the firmware for that. Because once I did that, everything I've shot out of that lens is razor sharp and the focus is crazy fast and accurate. So I'm happy to be shooting with that lens again. And this was just from the other morning as well. And this is shot, again, random country road. And I actually played a game with this image on our Facebook page for the Eaton Rapids community, asking people where I was at when I was taking this photo. And there's like 200 responses. It's crazy. So Sony a7 III. This is with the Samyang 14 millimeter f2.8. Again, bracketed both for exposure and for focus. I just cannot get over what it is like to shoot with, these bracketed images for depth. I mean, my barn is nice and sharp, and then all the way into the foreground, the grass is sharp. I cannot express enough how wonderful it is to shoot this way. And I think that's probably my last image. Yep, that's the last one that I've got. So I can stop my image share here really quick. What about you? Did you get it figured out?
I think so. We'll see. And last time I was on the show, I had my old computer and haven't given the permissions to StreamYard on this one until now. So
yeah, Mark upgraded recently.
So let's see here.
Yeah, I want to really get down your way, Mike. I've already committed to sometime in either this month or within the first couple of weeks of May, if the weather works out right in the Plain States. I've committed to it. I'm going to buy a plane ticket, fly into Kansas City, rent a car, and do like a legit storm chase. And when that happens, I'll be broadcasting it and streaming it and Facebook living it and all that. So if anybody happens to be a viewer that lives in that region and wants to meet up for some crazy weather, I'm more than game to. Because honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I chase storms here, but it's not the same as it is out there. Part of me thinks it's easier out there just because there'll be like 1,000 other chase groups out there, and I just need to find one and follow them.
That's the way to do it.
And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to poach off of them. And, I feel a little guilty for doing that. It's like somebody tagging along, following us on a workshop. But I figure those tours are already full anyways. I can't get into one. So
yeah,
I'm just going to do my thing. Not having any luck over there?
So Sharon, but apparently it's not.
Yeah, you're late. Holy crap. You've been drinking? You're not as late as Jerry. Jerry's so late he's not even here.
All right, can you see anything yet?
I see you.
See me. What the hell? Says I'm sharing.
Does it really?
Yeah. Technology. Gotta love it.
Man. Well, I don't have any more images to share, unfortunately.
I got 4 new ones here, but can't seem to come up.
Well, dang.
That's super weird. So streamer to sharing your window.
Oh, now he's gone, or I'm gone. I don't know what's going on. I just see a spinning wheel on his side. Okay, so New Mexico is on my list of places to go. Not storm chasing, but just to shoot. I honestly don't know enough about the weather in New Mexico. Let me get Mark back in here. Oh boy. This is turning into a mess. Poor Mark. So do you have a monsoon season the way that Arizona does? What I'm really after, I'm after these sweeping wide open vistas, that you'd find in eastern Colorado, Kansas, those regions. I have no interest in chasing a tornado whatsoever. All of my interest lies in supercell structures and lightning. Mark had pizza delivered. I wouldn't be surprised. Now I'm guessing he can't hear. Now he's going to message me. He probably doesn't even know he's on the show.
Anything? Kicked me out.
Did it? Well, you're here now, but I just don't.
Here. Screen come up yet?
No, nothing. Like at all. Normally, it shows me a little thing at the bottom that I can choose.
What the hell? I don't know. It says I'm sharing, but apparently not to you guys.
What a pain. What are you using? Chrome?
Yeah.
Even worse, because it should work in Chrome flawlessly.
Yeah. You let me in with
Safari.
Safari.
Yeah. So pretty stoked for you to be getting that, Dwayne. I know a guy who will put an F on it for you. If you're interested in it, let me know. I can give you the link to his website. If you didn't pick it up from any of the posts that I had done, does great work. Probably really quick turnaround time on it too.
Weird. Tried sharing it 2 different ways. Apparently, it's not going to let it come up.
Next time, I'll get you on here again.
Bummer. I tried.
He tried.
Well,
that's it. That's it, you guys. I mean, I don't know what to say anymore.
Apparently, I need to get one of them down here to show me how to use the freaking internet.
Yeah, that's weird. I really don't. I'm kind of out of ideas. You already left the studio once and came back in, and usually that fixes everything. So I'm not really too sure.
I don't know. Sorry, man.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, so again, just to kind of recap what we talked about tonight, Spring 21 is the discount code. If you're interested in the Wyoming workshop in August, first week of August, Spring 21 will knock you $150 off the cost. Mark and I, this tells you how much we love doing this. We're so close to just a break-even point. We're not really making money.
Yeah.
And that's not the point. I mean, it's nice if you make money when you're running a workshop, but Mark and I have day jobs. So we're not doing this because we need the money. We do it because it's fun to get a group of people away from their day job, away from their kids or their family or anything in their life that is a distraction from photography. Not that those are bad things, but an escape to someplace like Wyoming or like when we went to Utah it's a wonderful thing. So keep it in
unbelievable
mind.
Experiences, and it's definitely nice to kind of step away from what reality is right now anyway. So.
Yeah. And if you're not a big traveler, going someplace, well, like where we've been doing workshops like Utah or like Wyoming this fall, it doesn't feel like reality. It's astounding.
Yeah.
So Rick's taking off for a 2-week photography trip on Monday.
Where's he going?
Dude. Where are you going? Do tell. Hell, we should have just had Rick on. He probably had more to talk about than us. I want to know where he's going.
Yeah. Anytime someone's taking off, I want to go.
I'm ready. I'm ready all the time. So, well, I guess we could probably wrap up the show. Just big thanks for coming on, Mark. Sorry that the screen share didn't work. We'll fix that.
It happens. Get my IT guy down here, figure it out.
Yep. So again, we'll have you back on, and then we can kind of talk a little bit more too about. I'd like to have you on and do kind of what I did with the focus stacking, but have you go over how you use filters.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'll be honest, when I first got filters, I was just putting them on thinking that's just what you do. You just slap it on. That's how it works. And then you showed me your trick for locking exposure and dropping filters in. And I was just like, what did you just do? You just made magic in front of my eyes. It's amazing. So I think people would really benefit from maybe you going over that technique.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be fun to do.
All right, cool. Then we'll definitely do that. Just thanks for tuning in, you guys. Really appreciate it. I know it's a little bit shorter show than we've been running lately, but in all honesty, we really got the messages out that we wanted to share. Just an intro into focus bracketing, and wanted to share out the code that Mark put up on the workshop this week. Again, it's Spring 21. You just go to the Mirrorless Minutes website, navigate to the workshop section, and you can find the Western Vistas workshop there. You just click on the register and it'll take you to the registration page, and throw in that code spring21, knock $150 off it. I mean, it's a chunk of your airfare out there. It's part of it's probably food for several days, so not a bad deal.
Oh, not at all. So hope some people take advantage of it, and it's going to be a fun time.
For sure. And again, thanks for coming on, Mark. And
thank you.
And we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. We'll try to get Jerry back on. I know he's kind of in a pinch with his commute right now. I know it's kind of a pain in the butt, but we'll see what we can do to get him on 2 weeks from now. Until then, you guys take care, and thanks for watching.